So this week's video is about road rage. So basically I was really good after my holiday to Scotland and I was doing really well. You know, I had some bad days, but I worked through them at my own pace and in my own way. So basically I had this incident of road rage. I was in a public car park at a supermarket and I saw a lady going back to her car after dropping her trolley off. So I thought, oh good, she's going. It was a really busy car park and there were no spaces. So I indicated and I waited for the space. Anyway, she went out of her space and I pulled into her space. And then all of a sudden from behind me to my left, from around the corner, there was a really loud honking noise and I was like, okay, some car driver decided to drive nearly into my car. And then he got out. He was in a black BMW, like, you know, he feels like he's better than everyone else. He was like my parents' age, so he was a middle-aged man, and I think he picked on me because I was a lone young woman. Anyway, he got out of his car and banged on my driver's side window and was like, get out of this space, I was waiting for 10 minutes. And then he went round to my passenger side when I ignored him, and I didn't know how to lock the car, so I was going to lock the doors, but I couldn't do it in time. He went round to the passenger side, opened my door, and nearly climbed in my car and started screaming, get out of this space, I've been waiting for like 10 minutes. Get out of this space. I said, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you because it's a free car park and it's first come, first served, and I happened to get to this space first, and I didn't know that you were waiting for this space. You were around the corner. I didn't know that you were intending to go into this space. I'm not a mind reader. And he was like, kept going on and on and on at me, and I was like getting really upset. Like, I didn't cry in front of him and I didn't show that I was upset. I just held my ground and I sat there and I was like, I'm not moving. I'm sorry, but I'm not moving. And I couldn't move anyway because his car was blocking my car in. So after a while he said to me, you effing idiot, and then slammed the door. No, he didn't even shut the door, he just walked off without shutting my door, because I think I told him shut my door and leave me alone. I was like really school teacher, like shut my door and leave me alone. And then he got back in his car and then like honked for ages, and I just sat in my car with the doors locked. And then he drove off and I then readjusted my car because I'd driven into space and I wasn't quite in the lines properly. I was like really close to one of the lines, so I readjusted and got back into the lines. And then I waited for a minute and I went into the I made sure I checked my car for any scratches because I thought he's probably the sort of person to go and key my car. Anyway, I went into the supermarket and I reported it to the cashier, and then the cashier was like, oh gosh, you should talk to security. So I talked to security. Unfortunately, I didn't get the guy's number plate. I saw his car and I could recognise him if I saw him. But I was so scared walking around Tesco's. My anxiety levels were like maxed out. My heart rate was like dung 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 dung, and I was like so sweaty, so on edge, and I could like hear every noise around me. It's like I was on fight or flight, and I was so absolutely petrified of him going in there. Anyway, I reported it to the security guard, and the security guard said, well, you were right, you got into space first, and you know, you weren't rude to him, you just said to him like, this is the case and this is what's going to happen. And I went back to my car and it wasn't scratched up. I did report the incident to the police because as someone who has anxiety, I was really riled by this. In fact, I've never been back to that supermarket since. I don't go to that supermarket very often, but I still feel really, like, I thought about going there the other day and I thought, no, actually I'm not going there in case that guy is there. So I guess it kind of affects me in the way that I don't really want to go back to places where I've had an incident, because in case someone comes and gets me. And I was really worried. I spoke with my colleagues about it and I was really worried that I had done something wrong, and that was my anxiety speaking. That was me saying, oh, you must have done something wrong because no one would ever go out at you unless you'd done something wrong. And you know, I didn't know he wanted that parking space. I'm not a mind reader, I'm not clairvoyant, and clairvoyance don't even exist. I can't tell what people are thinking. I didn't know he was going in that space. I went in that space and maybe I was a bit of an idiot in his eyes. He didn't have to call me an effing idiot. He didn't have to be rude to me. He didn't have to pick on a young woman on her own. And I was in my uniform as well, so that was even worse. But anyway, I had got over that slightly. I still worry, and the police are actually really good. They couldn't do anything because they didn't have any CCTV and they didn't have his number plate, but they did say that if I ever see his number plate again then I can report it, which is good. They also got me in touch with a victim support charity who help people that have been attacked or abused in any way. And I felt a bit like silly because I didn't feel like a victim. I just felt like something bad had happened to me. I guess it is kind of a victimization in a way. But they sent me a personal alarm, which is really good because I work on my own and I go around on my own all the time. So having a personal alarm at least scares these people off. So yeah, that was one instant of road rage. And then the second instant of road rage was about a week after the first one. And I have to drive around for my job, so I was driving around and I was about to pull out of this park, like I was trying to find a parking space, and in Brighton and Hove, parking spaces are really, really hard to find, and I saw one and I'd gone past it, so I turned down a side road, turned in the road and went back to go out the side road and park in the space. And because I thought that was the safest thing to do rather than trying to do a turn in the road on a main road. And then this van, like a rental van, comes along and parks almost blocking the top of the road that I was trying to pull back out of. So I was like, oh, that's brilliant, because he didn't even like let me go before doing that. So I had to edge around him, and then I couldn't see, and I was edging really slowly. This is a 20-mile-an-hour limit zone. And I edged round, and then I thought, oh, there's nothing coming, I'll pull out. So I pulled out, and then I had this car right up my back bumper, bibbing me, and she was like, eh, and I was like, oh, for God's sake, really? And I was like, I didn't react or anything. I just said to myself, oh, for God's sake, I couldn't see. You should have gone slowly. It's obvious that I can't see. Anyway, it's a 20-mile-an-hour limit road. She was definitely not doing 20 mile an hour. She had a kid in the back of the car, and she was doing at least 30 or 40, and she was going really fast. And then I pulled into the parking spot that I'd seen, and then she pulled up again alongside me, and I thought, oh God. So I was scrabbling down in the footwell of my car trying to ignore her, and then she stayed there. So I looked over and she was going, be careful, be careful, in a really patronising way. And I just said, I couldn't see you. You were going too fast. And like, I know I made a mistake by pulling out in front of her. I couldn't see her. I made an honest mistake. And I truly believe people make mistakes. Humans make mistakes. And after all, we are human. We're not robots. We're not machines. Even machines make mistakes. I mean, come on. I just think that was really patronising, and actually that patronising behaviour actually affected me a lot more anxiety-wise than the guy yelling at me through the door. So yeah, I had a cry after that. I cried for about 15 minutes. I know it sounds pathetic, but I was so riled. I was like to the point of anxiety attack, and so I had to cry to let off steam. And I'm one of these people, I don't get angry. I try not to be angry with people, and a lot of people say I have got a short fuse, but I don't. I cry and I let it out before the fuse burns off, if that makes sense. So basically, I'm very, very nervous about driving at the moment. I'm not really enjoying the whole driving around, because driving around all day, every day, you do make mistakes. And, you know, we're all human, like I said. People make mistakes and I ignore them. And other people make mistakes. Like the other day, I had a cyclist had a go at me because I was pulling out and I couldn't see, so I pulled out a bit further and they were coming down the road, and I was like, I wasn't even in their way. I was a couple of centimetres into the cycle path, because the cycle path goes across the pavement, and like, because it was a dropped curve, and so it was a driveway out of a place, and so there was a dropped curve of the pavement, then the cycle path, and then the pavement going onto the road. So you have to go over the cycle path to get out of the parking space I was in to go on the main road. And I was edging forward because it's a really busy road, and the cyclist was just like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm trying to drive out of a parking space. What does it look like I'm doing? I'm not in your way. I waited for you to go past. Oh God, people are just so aggressive. And that is the one thing that I find really, really riles my anxiety, and it is so horrible that people can be so aggressive to you. I apologise that I sound really bad at the moment. I've got a chest infection, so I'm getting all like het up and angry about, well, not angry, but like anxious about these people, and I'm just like dying of like chest infection. Brilliant. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like, it really helps me out. Don't forget to subscribe also if you haven't already joined the Internauts, and then if you want to follow me any further, you can click on all my social media links down below. And I look forward to seeing you next Saturday. Bye bye!